Well, week 3 of college football is behind us now. We thought it would be another boring weekend, and yet again, just like week number 2, college football, it just doesn't disappoint.
What is up, everybody? We on Heads Up Play episode 52.
52.
I mean, we thought week 3, we thought it was going to be terrible.
We did think it would be, on paper, you had really no good games. You had some semi-good games.
The only ranked game that I could think of was Kansas State versus Arizona, and Kansas State beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, I thought that game would be much closer. I thought Arizona looked good in that game. I don't think we'll talk too much about that game, but Arizona to start off looked really good. I turned the game off, checked the score the next day, Saturday morning, and it was a blowout.
Does that lock in Kansas State as the favorite to win the Big 12 now?
I think with the injury to Cam Rising yet again, I don't think it locks them in because I think Oklahoma State looks pretty good, even despite the situation last week against Arkansas. I think it's a two-horse race between Kansas State and Arkansas, and maybe Utah still.
I was thinking is the Battle of Beltland's not happening, but Utah, they struggled. At one point, they were struggling against Utah State. But let's get into it. We had some pretty big games that meant some stuff in week 3. Sam, if you want to start us off, man, we had a little bit of some games out of the 11 o'clock slot. Kind of think of some games that happened then. I was watching the Bama-Wisconsin game.
Well, I can get us started off. Well, let's just start off with that. That is the big noon game. One of 2 times Alabama has been a part of the big noon kickoff. Last time Alabama played on Fox, the Joel Klatt and what's his name? Why is my mind blanking?
Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson, literally probably the best play-by-play guy in college football right now. Last time, Alabama versus Texas in Texas 2022. Alabama won by 1 point, I believe, in that game.
Yeah,
a lot different turnout this time around. Alabama goes on the road to Madison, Wisconsin, Camp Randall. Obviously a very tough place to play. But I think this was the score that a lot of people were expecting. This was the score that I was definitely hoping for as an Alabama fan. Alabama looked good on both sides of the ball. There's definitely still some things to clean up, probably on both sides of the ball. I would have liked for Tyler Van Dyke to have stayed in the game as an Alabama fan because I want some good competition as practice going into SEC play, especially when your first game is against Georgia and Carson Beck, maybe the best quarterback in the country. We'll talk about them in a little bit too. Don't worry. All in all, Jalen Milroe balled out, and Ryan Williams continues to just impress me more and more. I knew he would be good. Did you think he would be this good to start off?
How many times do you, as a Bama fan, this is getting old, but how many times do you think we have to hear a game how old he is?
It will be mentioned every single time because he doesn't turn 18 until February. He is the youngest player in college football.
17 the whole year. He is probably the most talked. Either him or that quarterback from Nebraska is by far the most talked about true freshman in college football.
Or Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver at Ohio State, who's putting up kind of the same numbers as Ryan Williams, essentially.
But no, I agree with you. I hate to see Tyler Van Dyke get hurt. He tore it. It was one of those. It was how do I say this? It was a non-contact play. He was just running, and you could tell that knee popped. That ACL popped. I haven't seen the news, but you knew it was a torn ACL. As soon as he went down, started grabbing his knee, he was done. But I'm like you. I wish they would have kind of had a little bit of a test. Once he's knocked out, I looked at my wife and said, "Yeah, this game's a wash. This is just another. It's going to be a long. I'm not gonna lie. I might have took a nap in the first half. It was just a boring first half. Kind of was a boring game, to be honest.
Well, there was a couple moments where in that first half, the Alabama offense, I don't want to say struggled, but the Wisconsin defense kind of put some things together, and Jalen Milroe couldn't really complete some passes, but all in all, made some good decisions. It's kind of interesting with this Alabama team. That offense can turn it up at any moment.
Anytime.
I mean, we saw it in the USF game in the last 6 minutes. We saw it at the last 30 seconds, really, of the first half of this game. I mean, they can punch you in the mouth whenever they want. It's just a matter of getting them to do so.
Some wins for Alabama. The penalties were knocked down. They only had 4 penalties this game. The cons of this game, though, that I did not like, and I think you would agree with me, our rushing defense did not just feel like it was that. Were we getting sacks? Were we fumbling the ball? Yeah, we were not. They ran the ball a lot against us and rushed for what was the total? The total was 141 yards. That's a lot of rushing yards for like someone. My bad. 149. That's a lot of rushing yards for someone to have against an Alabama defense.
Well, and USF put up a bunch of rushing yards as well. Granted, a lot of that was on the quarterback, but still, you're right. You know, with the power of the defensive line, they should not be putting up that many rushing yards. But the defense did come up at good times, and what we have seen, what we saw this week is what defense coordinator Kane Womack has been preaching for a while now, is the takeaways. That is the whole point of the Swarm D, is to force takeaways to put the offense in a position to score easier. And there were 2 really big forced fumbles that Alabama had and were able to capitalize on. Those looked good.
Was there not? There was also another forced fumble we caused, and then they recovered. I mean, that was 3. I mean, forced fumbles. We was on top of it on that, and because I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, probably since Mika Fitzpatrick was at Alabama, that we used to get turnovers just like crazy.
There was one year, I believe it was 2015 or 16, we were getting a defensive touchdown just about every single game.
Mika would get a pick 6.
Mika Fitzpatrick, Eddie Jackson, like they were getting pick 6s all the time. I do believe it was 2015. And that was probably 2015 and 16 were probably the last great defensive teams for Alabama. But I tell you, through 3 games against 3 very different offensive styles, while this defense has struggled a couple times, for example, in running the ball, they've looked really good.
I'm not worried after watching that game last night, and we'll talk about it when we get into that slot of games. I feel really good about going into a bye week. Is Georgia on a bye week also?
Both teams are on bye weeks.
That's the only thing that's a little scary. But, hey, we're on a bye week, too. We need the rest. Rest up, boys. Go to Ramajamas. Go to Gillettes. Do whatever you got to do. Get your mind right. You got the Bulldogs.
Just stay out of a car. And hopefully they can get as many Georgia players go race as possible. Go race.
Really
get him.
When you hear Georgia players on the road, stay off the road.
That's right. That's right. I saw Josh Pate last night tweeted something. Someone asked, "Hey Josh, why, no mention of the Kentucky-Georgia game?" And Josh Pate responded, "Yes, sorry for being in a car." And someone then responded, "Yeah, that's the best time to be in a car is when Georgia players are not on the road."
Somebody put on there and said, "I feel like Lyft and Uber is missing like prime NIL deals." Right?
Are they not? Are they not? I tell you who. I mean, one of these ones that got arrested better get an NIL deal with NASCAR or something. I mean, at this rate, I mean they could make millions.
I'm telling you. But let's go to another prime SEC game. That was an 11 o'clock slot.
Probably the prime SEC game.
And I'm gonna be honest. I kind of thought they got cheated a little bit. LSU versus South Carolina. LSU pulls it out 36-33. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know my ball. You intercept the ball. They throw an interception. Garrett Nussmeier does. They catch it, and they're returning it. Doesn't the quarterback become a defender at that point? How is it roughing the passer when he becomes a defender at that point? Am I wrong?
That I don't know. And I do believe I was not watching at that moment in time. I had to see it in some replays. Do you know if the defender had caught the ball in that moment?
He was well, let me tell you why I know he caught the ball in the moment. Because they called him roughing the passer, took the touchdown, but still gave South Carolina the ball.
So then, yeah, I do think that's all around. Everybody, I think, agrees that was an egregious call, no matter what. It's a block. You're blocking the guy. Yes, was it a hard block? Yeah.
Did they go a little 6 steps? Yeah, but he's a defender at that point. But they took away the touchdown. South Carolina could have tied it up with a field goal, just missed it. LSU pulls away. Two things I take away from this game. Brian Kelly has lost the point to where LSU used to be known for defenses. That is nowhere in that program no more. Defense has left the program of LSU. And
Yeah.
the second take away from this, I think Shane Beamer has saved his job.
I would agree with you. When they forced that fumble in the third or fourth quarter, it was like late in the third, early in the fourth, and Shane Beamer points to the crowd and is basically saying that one was because of y'all. That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was awesome. I tell you, through 3 games, despite losing, well, I'll say between 2 games, because obviously Old Dominion that was not a good-looking game. South Carolina has looked really good.
Beat the shit out of Kentucky, and you saw what Kentucky did last night against Georgia.
At Kentucky. So, South Carolina is one of those teams that, they got a great fan base. They're hungry.
We called it. You said, we don't know with South Carolina. That could be a team. They could go down 4-8 or 6-6 or 8-5. I'm telling you, this team, you don't know what this team. This team is going to be playing spoiler this year.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that, they can just pull a big upset out of nowhere.
If Lamont Sellers can stay healthy.
Yeah, he is the key, honestly, because he's looked really, really good through both SEC games to this point.
People compare him to Cam Newton. I kind of see it.
A little bit. Good runner, big guy. A lot of people are talking about the situation with the interception and the penalty there. And yes, that was egregious, and it probably cost South Carolina the game. But there were also some points where, South Carolina was up 17-0 to start this game, and the defense just kind of let it go. But you kind of knew at some point LSU, with that high potent offense, they were going to come back at some point. I was in the stadium at the Swamp, and we'll certainly get to them here in a little bit, while that game was going on. And I thought South Carolina had that game. I checked my phone, 3 seconds left, and LSU's up 33-30, and I was like, oh, how the hell did that happen? And then I see it comes down to a field goal, just missed it from tying the game. Tough way to end the game for South Carolina, a game that you honestly should have won. You should have won that game, no matter if it's because of the refs or just letting LSU come back. You had the game in the bag, and I hate it for that fan base because they have been really hungry. They come and pack out that stadium every week, and they just haven't gotten it. But I think that they will be a team still, despite being now 2-1. Watch out for the Gamecocks. They could do something.
I agree. Well, let's move to the Big Ten for this 11 o'clock game, because I'm telling you, they're done. They took them out, started this game after throwing 3 interceptions. Michigan struggles against Bush Jones and the Wolfpack of Arkansas State. 28-18. We don't have to dive into this too much. I just want to say I don't think Michigan finishes in the top 25 this year.
I would probably have to agree with that. We've talked about the boring hire of Sharon Moore, hiring from inside. We knew that Michigan would take a downturn after losing so many longtime starters in that national championship team, but it just seems like there's no fight in this team. It's boring. Michigan.
They'll lose the next game.
They'll lose to USC. Yep. They'll lose to Oregon.
Illinois.
They'll lose to Ohio State. This is at least a 4-loss team, at least, and likely a 5 or 6-loss team at this rate. When you're allowing Arkansas State to come within 10 points of you, a team who has been really bad the past few years under Butch Jones, that's not good. That is not good. So Michigan.
But let's talk about the real 11 o'clock game that I love so much. Florida State against the Memphis Tigers.
Could this not have happened to a better fan base? A better fan base.
They this whole physical year they have not won a game.
No. And I saw, you know, it goes back to this offseason. Florida State all offseason, really since the point that they didn't make the playoffs in last season, they have spent 8 months worrying about things not related to football. You are getting things sent up through the state legislature, suing the NCAA, suing the playoff committee. How about you go practice football? And Mike Norvell, thank God he is not the head coach of the University of Alabama in 2024, because holy crap.
I'm telling you, it's bad. It's bad.
Players do not want to play for Florida State. They transfer their players who could not start at their last school or wanted to take a step up because they were at a place like Oregon State, and they're at Florida State, and they're just there to try and build their NFL draft stock.
DJU, I mean, when is he done? I mean, when do you take him out? I mean, there's no way that Tate Roadmaker from last year that's at Southern Miss right now, you tell me DJU's better than him? I mean, you're 0-3 now, and you only maybe have 2 more wins. This is your upcoming schedule. You have California this week at Florida State. You might win that just because it's at home. If it was at California, you lose in that one. Then you play at SMU, you lose that one. You play Clemson, you lose that one. You play at Duke, maybe. At Miami, loss. North Carolina, loss. At Notre Dame, loss. Charles Southern, win. And then you play Florida.
In the ass bowl.
Oh my God! I mean,
we were talking all offseason about how tough Florida's last bit of the schedule is. That could be Florida's only other win this season, or vice versa. We'll talk about them in a little bit, of course. But yeah, I mean, this is just all around. What a downturn for Mike Norvell. This just makes you look like a bad coach. I mean, it is Gene Chizik. This is Gene Chizik level downturn from where you're at with a high quality quarterback and what you cannot do with him. You lose your high quality quarterback and you're awful.
You get all these transfers in. Nobody's bought in right now. You have officially lost the locker room.
That's exactly what it is. The players do not want to play for Florida State. They're just there to increase their draft stock. You've built too much out of the portal. The portal is good, but you don't get that same level of commitment that you get with a guy who's been there as a freshman and worked their way up. All around, this is not a good Florida State team. This is worse, in my opinion, the downturn from such a historically good season last season to where you're at now than how TCU was from 2022 to 2023. Worse than that.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Well, let's move into the 2:30 slot. We had, and this game was a struggle the whole time. The Missouri Tigers against Boston College. They struggled against Boston. Is Missouri not as good as everybody thought they were?
I don't want to say that. I want to say Boston College might just be that good. Boston College might just be that good. Granted, Boston College, it's still so early in the season. I really don't know. Boston College did beat Florida State, and that looked impressive in game 1. But now with how Florida State has looked, it's like, do we really know?
That's what I said on Twitter. Like, does this take away the win for Georgia Tech?
I mean, when you look at the game, Thomas Castellanos, the quarterback for Boston College, can make some things happen. Now, he was only 16 of 28 passing in this game, but it was for 249 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, which kind of saved Missouri in that game. But, Missouri's kind of got to get it together a little bit. I mean, Brady Cook, 21 of 30 for 264 yards. That's good, but only 1 touchdown. And Luther Burden was that touchdown reception, I do believe, for 117 yards. I don't know. I'm still kind of weary on Missouri. Right now, I would not rank them 6, but I would still rank them in the top 10.
I agree. I would put them over Penn State, but I wouldn't put them under Ole Miss.
I would. That's perfect for me. That's perfect for me.
I put them in 10, but just not too high, not too low either.
It's just so tough to tell with Missouri right now. We really have to see more going forward from them, and we really won't tell for a while because they really don't have a big test until the Alabama game.
And I'm gonna be honest, they don't scare me.
They really don't scare me either. But that's their biggest test going forward because you got Vandy next. Texas A&M could be a test, but and then you got UMass and then Auburn. Maybe that's a test, but you got that game at home, and then Alabama. It's really an easy schedule for Missouri, or what should be an easy schedule. This game I thought would be a lot closer just based on the performance of their past two games.
Devontae Adams is saving my fantasy team right now. Let's go. Everybody, Sam this week had James Cook also, by the way. So I mean,
yeah, I'm currently winning my game by a fair margin. 49-14. How in the world? I guess Oregon decided. I guess we're going to be a top 10 team now, and they rout Oregon State in the Civil War. After barely beating Boise State last week, barely beating Idaho, an FCS team, the week before, they decide against Oregon State, their hated rival, who they left in the dust in the Pac-2, soon to be Pac-6 or 8 come sooner. 49-14. Not much to talk about in this game. I didn't really watch much of it, but
I didn't either. I didn't turn this on at all. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't know how much stock you can put into it because we really don't know how good Oregon State is. I mean, they're playing Mountain West teams, to be honest. So
let's talk about the game he was at.
Oh,
he was, let's dive into the Florida Gators. Sam was at the A&M at Florida game, and it was a. How bad is the morale at Florida right now?
I can tell you from people I've been around and stuff I've seen online.
I feel like there's no optimism.
This is the lowest point probably in Florida Gator football history. This is the if Billy Napier were to get fired today, he would have the worst coaching record at Florida since 1949. 4 straight losing seasons is inevitable. These people want him gone, and they want the athletic director, Scott Strickland, gone with him.
Tell me if I'm wrong. You found something on Twitter. His record since he's hired a coach in like 2016, 2017, he's like 86 and 300 something. Like he's not.
I don't know how accurate that was. I did see someone come out and say that those numbers might have been a little skewed, but still, he has not. It has not been good. Now, Scott Strickland, the athletic director, has made some pretty bad hires. This guy said overall record of all the coaches 86 and 398 with 0 national championships. The prior athletic director, Jeremy Foley, who still holds a position at Florida called the AD Emeritus. I do not know what that means. This guy is no.
I remember now. Scott Strickland came from Mississippi State because then he
Starkville Scott.
Right.
So
right.
Jeremy Foley, however, is the guy who hired Urban Meyer, who of course won 2 national championships. Hired Billy Donovan, won 2 national championships. Hired Tim Walton, the softball coach, won 2 national championships. Hired the baseball coach, Kevin O'Sullivan, won a national championships. 18 national championships out of the coaches that guy has hired. I would fire Scott Strickland immediately and let Jeremy Foley make that decision because he has a good track record. So, but I mean, overall in Florida, you were a 2-point underdog, just a 2-point underdog against Miami. That was a pivotal game that you needed to win at home in the swamp. At home in the swamp. One of what is supposed to be the toughest places to play.
They were 4.5-point favorites. A&M was, I believe.
And A&M was a 3.5 or 4-point favorite at home in the swamp. And each time you are blown off your own field. This time by an unranked team with a first-year head coach that got beat by Notre Dame, who lost to Northern Illinois, with their backup quarterback. They just beat the crap out of you. Final score 33-20. It was not 33-20. It should have been more like 48-7.
It was unbearable to watch.
Yeah, well, look, we left due to the rain in the second quarter, and thank God we did, because I mean, it just wasn't pretty.
You don't want to sit for that and get soaked for that to
No.
watch that kind of performance. I'll be honest.
No, it was abysmal. I mean, this is a defense like they're off. I want to say, John Rivers, Florida might be one step above Mississippi State right now in the SEC. You've got Vandy over you, who just lost to Georgia State.
Oh yeah, I mean, Florida's only win in the future I see is
maybe Mississippi State, or Florida State.
do they play Arkansas?
They do not play Arkansas, I don't believe.
That's right, it's Mississippi State. Okay, yeah, probably Mississippi State.
And so if I'm Florida, look, there is no light at the end of the tunnel with Billy Napier right now.
No.
It's not coming. You know.
I know what you're going to say, and I agree with you 100%. Go ahead and say it. I agree with you 100%.
You have to let him go now. I don't care if you're only 3 games through the season. You're not winning another. You're going 1-11 or 2-10.
Why you would keep him? I mean, would you really think if he, let's just say, turns it around and wins, let's just say 6 games, are you going to keep him still, or are you going to fire him?
It'd be like Gus Malzahn over again. It's like at some point you want to fire him, you just got to go ahead and pull the trigger.
That brings my next point. What is a worse situation, when Harsin left Auburn or when Napier's going to leave Florida?
Worst situation, I would say it's Florida, because, I mean, they're just losing the games. Auburn conjured up some lie about their coach to get him fired.
Yeah. Honor, we don't want a coach that sleeps around. No. Let's hire a Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, right, yeah. Hey, yeah, turn your phone off, Hugh. But this is just, again, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna go 1-11, 2-10. Maybe you pull a bunny out of your hat and go 3-9. Either way, it's gonna be embarrassing. You'd much rather be embarrassed with an interim head coach than a guy you're paying millions of dollars. Go ahead, pay the buyout, get the man paid. You got the money for it. I mean, this is going to be a sad, disappointing year, probably the worst year in decades for the Florida Gators football team. Yeah. But it's just part of it. And I hate it for Florida fans, because they continue to show up every single game. They show out in force. They cheer really loudly. And 4 straight losing seasons.
Imagine being a Florida Gators and a Miami Dolphins fan.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Quick question. If you're a Tua Tagovailoa, what are you doing? Are you retiring, or what are you doing?
I would retire, but it seems like Tua doesn't have any plans for that. He's gonna be walking around the field like throwing like that.
Yeah, his hand. I've never seen somebody get so many concussions. Not only get concussions, but like their body is never well. I feel like when he gets a concussion, you immediately know he has a concussion.
He's always been made of glass. I mean, even going back to Alabama, he's never learned to slide. But a little bit besides the point. As far as Florida, who do you think, if the decision was made today? Obviously, they won't be able to find a coach until really the end of the season.
I'm just gonna shut that shit down. Then I'm gonna get Lane Kiffin. That'd be worse than a lateral move. That would be a downgrade. Ooh.
You think Lane Kiffin would be a downgrade?
No, him going to Florida would be a downgrade.
Oh, okay, yes, I agree. I think if you're Florida, you have to go after Lane Kiffin as your number one choice, but I would not do it.
You got to give a call to Urban Meyer, because, I mean, it can't hurt to give him a call.
I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't think there's that many great options right now. I think you have to wait the season out and see how some guys do. I've seen some people talk about Eli Drinkwitz. I wouldn't leave Missouri either, with the amount of money that they're giving him.
Maybe Ryan Day.
Nah, they can't take away from Ohio State. He ain't leaving.
Yeah, he's gonna have a good year this year. I'll tell you a name. And it was rumored he was leaving last year. Maybe Mark Stoops.
They're not going to go after Mark Stoops. Well, they're going to go after the biggest name that they can get, and that is Lane Kiffin. They're probably not going to get him.
He's not coaching right now. No. It's not. I'm not going to say Dan Mullen. He's not coaching right now. He used to coach in the state of Florida. Jimbo.
Would he? Would they? Let me tell you.
I mean,
I saw someone make a good. I saw Andy Staples say this.
I just don't think I cannot. I mean, maybe they're not going to get Dabo. I don't think Dabo's going to leave Clemson to go to Florida. That's a horrible situation. I think Dabo.
Let me tell you someone else who lives in the state of Florida right now.
Steve
has won a national championship just like Jimbo Fisher. The greatest interim head coach of all time. Coach O.
Coach O.
Ed O.
I don't know why Coach O has not been offered. I'm sure he has privately, not publicly. Why he's not been an O-line coach somewhere.
Probably making too much money.
But let's talk about another team before we get to the Georgia game. This is our last game before we get on the Georgia. Is Auburn just never going to be back? Is Auburn never going to be like Auburn of the old days?
I don't know. You know, I thought Hank Brown looked better in the second half. This was an ugly game with the rain and all that, but
he looked better than Peyton Thorne, I'll be honest.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know how much to put in this. I mean, who does Auburn play next week? They got to be getting into SEC play here. Where are they at? I don't know who Auburn plays next week, but they're looking like another 6-6 team.
Oh, they play Arkansas next week.
That might be a win. Because Arkansas did not look fantastic this past week against UAB.
Georgia, Missouri, Kentucky. Yeah, they.
One more game to get to before we talk about Georgia.
I forgot about this one.
Oklahoma fans, we said it, and y'all called us on. Y'all said we didn't know nothing. You guys struggled hard with Tulane. Tulane, of course, is a quality Group of 5 team. I get that.
I've always said that I don't think Brent Venables is a good coach. Never had been a Brent Venables.
34-19 against Tulane at home. Oklahoma fans, you said we don't know ball. You are about to get run off the field by Tennessee next week.
Yep. You are about to get mollywopped. Your ass is about to get waxed.
You are not ready for SEC play. We talked about it. One of Texas and or Oklahoma would be one of those teams. You are that team. But yeah, so the game of the night. I mean, the talking point.
Oh, we forgot. Speaking of Jeff Lebby leaving Oklahoma to go to
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I'll say Nick Saban is the greatest mind of all time. He called Memphis beating Florida State. He called Alabama beating Wisconsin, and he called Toledo beating Mississippi State. Not only did Toledo beat Mississippi State, beat the shit.
The Rockets ran they ate the dogs off their own field.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. It was 28-3 at one point.
What was the final score? 41-17, I believe, or 7. Yeah. And look, Toledo's been a good team the past couple years. They got a really, really good quarterback, but you can't let Toledo come on your home field, who you probably paid over $1 million to be there, and walk you off the field. I mean, that's more embarrassing than Florida State paying Memphis $1.3 million and then beating you. Just because of the fashion that it was done in. But yeah, very embarrassing for Mississippi State. They're going to be bad. They're already bad. But yes.
Let's get into the game.
What happened in Lexington?
Oh, it's down. If Kentucky had somewhat of an offense, they would have beat Georgia. We've been saying, though, if Georgia had, Lamba Cocken or Brock Bowers, I'd be a little bit more. They have no offensive weapons. Maybe their best offensive weapon is ETN at running back. That might be their best weapon. Well,
and the offensive line, who, is what should be one of the best in college football, was, and I know one or two got injured. Kentucky was running right past them. Carson Beck had pressure all night long. It wasn't quite like Alabama against USF, but he wasn't safe in the pocket last night.
I'm just telling you, I feel really good about playing Georgia, and I don't think I've ever said that, and that's what scares me.
Please. This game does nothing more but scare me more. I don't mean to be a doomer. I do not want to get Georgia 2 weeks after them almost losing, because Kirby Smart does nothing better, or no one does this better than Kirby Smart, and that is get his team fired up and thinking they just knocked us down to number 2. They don't think we can win this game.
Oh, did they knock them down to number 2?
They are number 2 in the AP poll. Texas is number 1 now.
Wow. I got to see that. I didn't know that.
This game scares me now because Georgia is going to give Alabama all they can. Now, it definitely helps me. Like, I do feel a little bit more confident as an Alabama fan because we've got some good tape on them getting exposed. So I think Kane Womack on the defensive side can see some things that he can replicate in our game, and maybe it can work. But it scares me a little bit.
When was the last time Texas was number 1?
Oh, it had been back in 2009, right?
Dang, I didn't know they. Oh my God! But no, yes. To go back to what you said, Georgia got a chip on their shoulder now. This is a prime time Nick Saban kind of game right now, and I'm excited to see how this is.
I'm very excited. It's one of those games where it's like, if we lose, hey, we lose because we're expected to lose. It's going to feel a lot like the SEC championship this past season, where if we lose, we lose, but if we win, oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And I've said for a while, I think Georgia will lose a regular season game.
But we've said, though.
We don't know which game that's going to be.
You're standing by this. I have more confidence in beating Georgia than we can beat Tennessee.
I still think that.
Watching Tennessee the other day, they're going to run us out the field.
They're offense. Our secondary is too slow. Even against Wisconsin and USF, there were a number of times where if the quarterback had not just overthrown it by a few feet, it's a touchdown like that. Tennessee ain't gonna make those mistakes.
I'm thinking if it was Van Dyke out there, they would have scored a couple times.
Possibly, certainly possible. But all in all, this Georgia team, this was a struggle win. And a lot of people were coming after Mark Stoops for the late decision to punt on 4th and 8 in Georgia territory with 3 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because he should have gone for it. 100% should have gone for it in that situation. You got your ass ran off by South Carolina the week before on your home turf, and the very next week you have an opportunity to get the biggest win in the 12 years that you have been there. And you, excuse my French, guys, you play pussy ball. That was pussy ball. You played scared against a team that you had been dominating physically all night. Like, just if you don't make it, you don't make it. You're not expected to win the game whatsoever. You got to go for it in that situation. And it came back and bit Kentucky in the butt.
It did.
But as an Alabama fan, I would have much rather have a 3-0 Georgia coming into town than a 2-1 Georgia, because then they'd really be fired up and playing with a chip on their shoulder in Tuscaloosa.
I'm excited, though. They just announced game day will be in Oklahoma next week for the Tennessee-Oklahoma game. Tennessee opens up as 6.5-point favorites on the road at Oklahoma. I think they'll blow Oklahoma out the field. I'm excited. Archie Manning looked pretty good this week.
Looked real good. Looked like a Manning.
As we're wrapping up this episode, everybody, we are. Oh, God, that was a good burp. We are closing out the first round of the NFL games today, so let me give you a quick update. All right, wrapping up right now is the you had the Browns beat the Jaguars 18-13. Deshaun Watson is going to get a massage later. Jets and the Titans won 24-17. They told Aaron Rodgers, if you was going to lose 2 games in a row, we was going to give you a COVID vaccine shot. 49ers lose 23-17. Good riddance. Christian McCaffrey can suck my ass. Chargers beat the Panthers 26-3. Bryce Young could not ride that ride. He is too short.
I hate it for him. There's so many people coming for Bryce, and look, he has not looked good.
I'm gonna be honest. It's
But
kind of justifiable now. He looks small out there.
he does.
Oompa Loompa.
Seahawks 23-20 in overtime over the Patriots. The Patriots, they're not good.
They're not good. They had that upset last week against the Bengals. I'm not too high on them. DK Metcalf, big game for the Seahawks this week. Maybe he'll get another Pearson or change his hairdo. Saints and the Cowboys.
Are the Saints back?
Yet. Are the Saints back? I don't want them to be back, but by God, they look good right now.
Offense is cooking. Alvin Kamara was cooking.
Telling me. Speaking of another NFC South team, they said the NFC South is going to be the worst division in football. I call bullschlocky. Look at the Buccaneers beating at Detroit, the Detroit Lions, 20-16. If you got the Saints and the Bucs, and then we're going to rise up, baby. We got tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, and the Eagles. If we can beat the Eagles, that's 3 strong contenders.
That's looking like one of the maybe the strongest division in the NFC.
Telling me. All right. Giants lose to the Commanders 21-18. Well, let me ask you, if the Giants have another rough season this year, I know they're trying to get rid of Daniel Jones. He's terrible. I agree. Does Brian Daboll get fired as well? Or
such a good start for Brian Daboll at New York. I mean, he won Coach of the Year, I believe, in his first or second year. And it's been a downward turn. I don't know how much longer they'll stick with him. I don't know. Because it's Daniel Jones. Fans started going on him a little bit earlier. Now they're starting to go after Daboll a little bit. I don't think he's going to stick around much longer if it's another poor season.
I think they'll give him maybe one more year and say, look, we gave you Daniel Jones. Let's see how this goes. Here's Shedeur Sanders or Carson Beck or someone, Jalen Milroe. And then if it's bad, cut them loose. Next game, you have the Green Bay Packers beat the Colts. Malik Willis, Auburn fans, he won the game today, only throw for 122. Anthony Richardson said, you know what, guys? I'm such a Florida Gator. I'm going to throw 3 interceptions like Graham Mertz. I'm such a Florida Gator. I'll do whatever it takes for this school. And then right now, you have the Arizona Cardinals playing the Rams, and you just wrapped up the Las Vegas Raiders beating the Ravens. Ravens 0-2 this year, starting off.
Rough start. Granted, one was against the Chiefs, but rough start. You don't want to start 0-2 ever.
I'll tell you who I think looks – I watched one of them play yesterday, last week against the Falcons. I think T.J. Watt and Max Crosby are probably the 2 best defensive players in the NFL right now.
I wouldn't put that past you. I would not disagree there. T.J. Watt tore it up last week. Oh, no.
So, I am playing against somebody that has Marvin Harrison Jr., and I have Kyler Murray. So, Marvin Harrison Jr. has caught 2 touchdown passes. He just caught 170-plus yards. So, yes, that helps me. And it also shoots me in the foot as well.
Yeah, that's always tough when you're playing against a wide receiver whose quarterback you have. It's been fantasy's treated me okay so far this year. This week treated me a lot better than last. I actually my team played really good last week. It's just the team I went against just played so much better. But guys, I think that does it for episode 52 here of Heads Up Play. We're going to come back at you later this week with some week 4 predictions. Getting a little bit more into the college football season. We got some bigger games coming up. And then week 5, that's the big one. That's the big one.
Yep, we got some NFL here. Dude, it's the most wonderful time. It is. I will take this over anything. Braves baseball, we suck. I know we haven't talked about the Braves lately, but my God.
Hey, 10-0 over the Dodgers. Chris Sale, easy Cy Young. Couldn't win the MVP. Probably not. Who knows? Because Shohei Ohtani has his. Anyway, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it. Drop a like. Drop a comment what you guys think about these latest games. What do you think about Florida State? What do you think about Georgia? What does that say about the game coming up? What do you think about some of these NFL games? Are the Saints back? What do you think? Give me your Monday Night Football predictions. And as always, hit them with it, John Rivers.
Y'all stay classy.
Stay classy.